association with boxer. Delighted to be joined by Eddie Hearn. You're looking younger and younger every time I see you.
Well, I'm glad to see you back, my friend. You know, looking half the man you were, having lost 10 kilos, but alive and breathing. So, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, well, you're going to end up getting people thinking I've converted you now.
No.
You're putting on, Eddie, probably one of the most multicultural cards I've seen in recent times. You've got people representing India, Pakistan, Yemen.
Yeah.
Did you know that, or was that accidentally done?
Obviously, when I was up here and people were expressing their views about the fight, you hear different, and I'm aware of that. To be honest, and I don't like, everyone's the same for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think one of the things about boxing, like I went down Acock's gym last night, right, in Birmingham, was the most unbelievable experience, right? And I feel like what youth can tell us is the mindset of a young person, the not necessarily the lack of experience and the pureness of a young person is so refreshing to see. And it, as life develops and as you get kind of, I guess, infiltrated by negativity and the stresses of life, it can change the pureness that you once had as a kid. Do you know what I mean? So the person that you are now, there was maybe, not you, but someone, there was maybe a 10 or a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old that didn't have a care in the world, didn't care what colour someone was, didn't care what ethnicity someone was. You were just a person, you know. And I see that in my kids. My kids are 13 and 10. They don't care where someone comes from. They just either like hanging around with someone and having, you know, or you don't. And I think as you get older, you lose that. But you know, the last thing that I ever really do is, oh, you know, he's from so and so, or wow, we've got a lot. You know, it's great to have those different communities as part of the card. It's not something that I strategically do, but when you realise and you see the fan base coming on Saturday, you'll see it. You know, every fighter's sold 300 or 400 tickets. Next thing, you've got 4,000 at a small next gen card, and the energy is going to be great. And these guys can be heroes in that community. You know, especially in a society like Birmingham, where, you know, you look at Ibrahim Suleiman and he has 400 or 500 people coming on Saturday night. He's an inspiration to them and he shows them anything's possible. But one of the things I love about amateur boxing clubs is there is no boundaries. There is no, you know, he's that, she's that, they're from there. It's just we're a family together, and that's really what's missing from life, because everyone worries about opinion and culture and ethnicity and religion. It don't matter. Your opinions are your opinions, but you cut yourself open. We're all the same. You know, your heart that, you know, nearly gave up on you is the same as my heart. Well, hopefully mine's a little bit, but we're all living and breathing humans. And where you come from, it's just where you come from, and your beliefs are just your beliefs. But, you know, that's why I love going into the amateur clubs, just seeing the kids being free and like all that bullshit, all that negativity. When they're in there, none of it matters.
It's definitely something society's missing. Coming back to the card, obviously you got Galal Yafai topping the bill. In fact, before I get to Galal, at all the young lads you've got on the show, you must have heard loads of hype about loads of them. Obviously Ibrahim Suleiman, we heard Sahil Khan say he's had loads of knockouts. Which one are you most excited to see? So I'm put you on the spot.
I think that, you know, a lot of the fighters that are on this card, especially when you talk about Sahil Khan and Ibrahim Suleiman, they're kind of guys that, I'm saying we've taken a chance on, but they're not the guys that have gone and won Olympics and World Championships. They're the guys that I've looked at and I thought, you could be interesting, you could build a following. And definitely having both those guys selling 500 and 400 tickets, you see that. Sahil Khan has, 28 knockouts, and something like 16 of them are in the first round as an amateur. Like, that's almost unheard of. You know, Ibrahim's got a huge following. Obviously, he's got JK and stuff like that. So, looking forward to seeing those. Khalid Majid has got a huge following as well. Aaron Bowen is very exciting as an amateur prospect as well. Not sure if I'm missing any out. Muhammad Ali, again, you know, looking great. It's 18. But I love the card, and I love the main TV card. I love Jordan Flynn against Kane Baker rematch. I love Sol Dakers against Chris Thompson. I think it'd be a really good heavyweight fight. I think Sol Dakers is massively underrated, actually, and I think he can mix with all those domestic guys now. Conor Walker against Cyrus Patterson's an all-out war. And Galal Yafai, I feel like not just one of the best prospects in the world, but one of the best flyweights in the world now, and should be looking to do a job on Tommy Frank.
You broke down the card brilliantly, so I'm going to move on to a couple of other things, Eddie. We saw earlier on, BENN has reported that the CONOR BENN situation has gone down to an appeal. There was rumours early in the week that it was going to go down that route. again, we've seen rumours come out first. So has it been, because I think you've just said in another interview they appealed yesterday or the day before, but why were the rumours like a week ago saying that they were going to do that?
Yeah, because obviously someone's told someone they're going to appeal. I think officially it was a couple of days ago we did know about it. Disappointing, especially disappointing that they've left it again to last minute to do that, like the ruling. And it just delays the process, whether that's intentionally or just, again, bad luck, I don't know. But we don't feel like we lose the appeal, or Conor's team doesn't feel like they lose the appeal, but it is going to be an extra probably 6 to 8 week period where he has to decide what he's going to do. The point I'll make is he is licensed at the moment with a very reputable commission. He can fight. He's not suspended in the UK. He can ask for permission to box in the UK, which I actually don't think can be denied, bearing in mind that he's not suspended and he's been cleared through that process. But he can definitely box in America, because one of the points that the commission made was if he is suspended in the UK, he cannot, but we wouldn't be willing to necessarily give him permission to box. Now he's not suspended, they will, so he does have that opportunity to fight in America and maybe request permission to box in the UK as well, or go through this process and fight in December. We've got a meeting with Conor on Sunday. It's another fight that he has to go through. Hopefully it will be the last one, but we'll see what happens.
Ben Shalom said the other day in an interview that he feels like the efforts you made with regards to Boatsy, Aziz, he suggested 3 of the events he's tried putting on recently, Eubank, Smith. He feels that you're trying to disrupt the events rather than actually make fights. You've got a right to reply to that?
Yeah, well, the right to reply was very embarrassing for them because, as you know, when we talk about the Richard Riakporhe situation, Richard Riakporhe had an opportunity to fight the best cruiserweight in the world, the IBF and the Ring Magazine champion, for a huge amount of money, and was forced to pull out of the purse bid after asking for that fight on the day of the fight. I saw the interview and Ben said, you know, we pulled out because we've got another fight and they were just trying to disrupt us. The day after that, Boxer emailed my co-promoter, Mick Francis, and said, please keep this confidential between us, don't tell Eddie Hearn, but we would like to make you an offer for Richard Riakporhe to fight J.R. Pataya. Of course, Mick Francis phoned me straight up, told me I could not believe my eyes, but you were caught with your pants down telling Porky Pies, because actually you pulled out because you were worried about either not having the money to do the fight or the fight landing on DAZN. But you went round the back after you told everyone you'd already agreed another fight to try and make the fight behind our back. So is that working for the best interest of boxing and looking to work together? With regards to Boatsy and Aziz, Aziz was out of contract with Boxer. We offered him the Bivol fight. He didn't want the Bivol fight. He wanted the Boatsy fight. No problem with that. Promoters have got to be very careful because what they're doing at the moment is they're putting fighters in terrible legal positions that's actually doing their head in and actually making them lose fights. There's an example I won't go into, but it's a classic example of a fighter that lost everything that he built because of bad decisions and bad advice and lost in the ring and out of the ring. There's now another one going on that's could go down the same route as well, and people are just getting bad advice. Fraser Clark, this has really affected Fraser Clark mentally. You know, and I feel for him because he's a great young man, he's a great fighter, but he was put in a position where he was talked into doing something that, quite frankly, was not in the best interest of his career. Now, contractually, these guys have got to look at their contracts, because if you can't go through a purse bid situation and lose a purse bid situation and fight on another platform, and in that process it loses you the opportunity to fight for a world title and make massive money, you've either signed a bad contract or someone's putting you in a terrible position. And it's affecting Richard Riakporhe as well, because he's pulled out of a fight. And the day after, they're trying to make the fight after the purse bid. They don't even know what they're doing. You can't make a fight after a purse bid after you've pulled out of the process. The IBF would say, don't be so ridiculous. Of course, I found out about the email. I mentioned it on Gareth Davis's Fight Club. Then Boxer started calling me, saying, please don't, that was a mistake, that email we sent. No, it wasn't. It was SNIDE. That's what it was. You asked me not to comment on it because you were worried about my comments. Tough shit. You lied in front of camera. I got a right to reply. That's done. Now we move on, but no more porky pies, please.
Quick one, the Alicia situation. There seems to be a brigade of people on Twitter that are almost kind of accusing you for being responsible for people failing drugs tests on your events.
I know.
Your response to that?
Well, the worst thing that can happen for me is one of my fighters failing a drugs test. So, in an ideal world, no one ever fails a drugs test. Someone said, you know, obviously people are going to point the fingers at Matchroom. I said, why? They said, well, because it's another one of your fighters failing a drugs test. I said, one, that's not my fault. Two, We are testing at unprecedented levels in boxing right now, more than has ever been seen in boxing, and other promotional companies aren't. So yes, you are going to see more matchroom fighters test positive because of the level of testing that we are conducting. One hand, you want a safer sport, so we take that on board, we ramp up testing. But then when there's an adverse finding, it's our fault. I mean, it's complete madness. Every fighter has to have the opportunity to clear their name. And Alicia Baumgardner needs that opportunity. You know, she passed the previous test. 2 days later, she passed the test on fight night. She's saying it doesn't make sense, I'm confused. I want her to be innocent. But we have to deal with the facts that the laboratory gives us. And the commission and the governing body have to go through that process. She will go through that process, she'll have our support. I hope she can prove her innocence. But you can't, if you want a safer sport and a cleaner sport, and we decide to invest more money in testing, you can't then blame me for fighters testing positive. I mean, we're all trying our best to try and make the sport as safe as possible, and hopefully we can do that.
In a Brummie accent, tell the fans why they should watch this Saturday night.
Well, you know, I think this is an unbelievable show, to be honest with you. We've got some of the best prospects in world boxing taking part before the bell. And the main card, I think it's a cracker. You know, Jordan Flynn against Kane Baker. I love it, I do. And I love the heavyweight matchup with Chris Thompson and Sol Dacres. It's no good, no? And as for Conor Walker against Cyrus Patterson, I think that's going to be a right ding-dong, to be honest with you. And Galal, you fight one of the best fighters in world boxing. I can't believe you made me do that, but that was my Birmingham accent. Tune into DAZN this Saturday night. It is honestly going to be a banger.
Eddie Hearn, thank you very much.
Cheers.